Great news, homeowners. With one phone call, you can lower your monthly electricity bills and invest in sustainable energy at the same time.
Ugly Solar Panel Store.
It's never been more affordable to place an aesthetically challenging industrial monstrosity on your roof or front lawn.
Ugly Solar Panel Store.
Since 2015, Ugly Solar Panel Store has helped thousands of homeowners who aren't concerned about visuals or neighbors harness the power of the sun. Listen to this testimonial.
It looks awful, but I guess you get used to it, and we save a little money unless it's cloudy or dark.
Ugly Solar Panel Store has a wide range of steel and glass rectangles, which can be prominently displayed on your roof or on a 10-foot pole right next to your house.
Ugly Solar Panel Store.
Don't wait. Call Ugly Solar Panel Store today. 888-ISOAR. That's 888-393-7673.
I'll be honest, I come home at night so I don't have to see what I did.
Ugly Solar Panel Store.
Estimates are free, and the savings are potential. Close your eyes and unleash the power of the sun. You're listening to Questionable Material, produced in New York by Jack Helmuth and Brian Sack. QMpodcast.com. Coronavirus.
Oh, hi. I was wondering what your plans are for the fall.
Well, I was thinking about ramping things up to make it fun.
Oh, cool. I love fun. I was thinking, though, maybe you could just stay out of New York.
You know what? I feel comfortable in New York. I feel at home in New York. It's where I did my best work.
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel like it's like a band returning to their hometown, after making it big on the world stage and then coming back and saying, you know what? I'm going to go back into nursing homes.
You play your greatest hits.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you want to hear Born in the USA if you go see Springsteen.
That's right.
Well, hey, coronavirus.
Yeah.
There's a sort of a frail old man, silver haired, sort of weak of mind.
Are you sure he's frail? Because I've heard good things about him.
No, those are untrue rumors. Married certainly outside his abilities and looks. Maybe if you could go pay him like a nice long visit there, he's got 2 lungs that would just be delicious.
Really?
You could snack to your heart's content on this guy.
It's funny you say that because his 8th grader was just told that he won't be coming to school for the next 2 weeks because one of the teachers has COVID.
Oh,
has me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Remote learning, back to remote learning, just like in March.
Yep. Well, some of us chose to keep our kids remote learning no matter what.
Well, some of us are not germ freaks.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess I'll take my 2 living children as proof that I'm a germ freak.
Hello.
Hi, Brian. How are you?
I'm doing great, Jack. Although we did have an hour-long Zoom call last night with the school.
And what did the school say?
Well, one of the 8th grade teachers has tested positive for COVID. So all the 8th grade students have been told to stay at home for 2 weeks.
God, so it's not just a teacher within the school building. It's an actual teacher at the grade of which your son learns.
Yes, it's the actual, his grade. So he's, they as a precaution, they've taken all the 8th graders and said remote learning for the next 14 days.
And now she's the teacher who teaches that cough in your mouth class?
Yeah, and that's the thing. So anybody who's in the cough in your mouth class had to be notified by the administration.
Why did you sign your child up for that? I've wondered that for a while, but I didn't. Betsy, my wife, sort of said, don't ask him that. Don't tell him how to parent.
Well, if you've ever been to YouTube and you've been on any of the cough in your mouth channels, I mean, you'll see the shocked reactions of people who have people cough in their mouth. And so I want my kids to be prepared for that and to know how to handle it. It's kind of like taking a boxing class or Krav Maga or something. It's good to kind of feel what it's like to be hit.
Yep.
So that you when you're actually hit for real, it's not this complete shock. So cough in your mouth class, it was one of the electives they offered. And he really liked it. The homework's fairly easy.
Okay. Well, what's homework like?
Just he comes home and he coughs in our mouth.
Oh, that's okay. So at least it's nice. I think still at that age to be part of your kid's homework.
It's the one thing I can do because I'm done with math.
Yeah. I have a 4th grader and I'm pretty much done with that math.
Yeah. When I see the math sheets, I'm like, talk to your mother.
Yep. So what are some of the other electives, though, that you guys elected to sign him up for?
Mystery needle.
Oh, okay. I was thinking more like creative writing, but
no, mystery needle is a class. Or what they do is they go around the city and they pick up needles and they put them in a box. And then each student at the beginning on Monday, it's always Monday, of course, one student is picked to stick their hand in the mystery needle box. And then what happens is over the course of the week, the kids kind of determine what was on that needle. Oh. And so the kids come to their own conclusions. And, based on the symptoms of the child who's been stuck, the kids by Friday have to file a report as to what they think was on that needle. And then the needles are tested. And then the student who is closest in their diagnosis gets an A.
Oh, that's A for AIDS?
Depends on the needle.
Oh, okay. Could be a B for hepatitis?
B for botulism or hepatitis B, correct.
Wow. See, that's what's so exciting about living in New York City is that there's so much diversity.
And there's so much more needle diversity now with Mayor de Blasio. He's done a great job.
He's great. He really is the best. People don't talk about that enough or at all.
Right. Somebody really loves him.
There's someone out there. I mean, it's just got it. I mean, by the numbers. There's someone on Twitter who thinks Meryl Streep is a crappy actress.
Right. I mean, there has to be somebody.
Yeah. So what other electives? I mean, it sounds like you're really giving him a broad range of education. I'm really excited to sort of hear about, what else you're exposing him to, literally probably exposing him to.
Yes.
That's fantastic. And you said, but there was sort of the one big class that you guys were nervous that you wouldn't even get into, but I guess you made a phone call and got him in. What was that big class you were so excited about?
Oh, the big class?
Yeah.
The one that all the parents wanted to get into? Mm-hmm. It's called Pandering to Ivy League Admissions. And so it's just all the different techniques you can use to really pander and get yourself into an Ivy League school.
Oh, like what? I mean, my kids aren't particularly bright, but just in case, I'd love to hear about that.
Early on, introduce yourself to the college. Don't show up, on the day of the tour. You want to make sure you're in their system early on. They take note of these things. So you want to really start applying for information from the school as soon as your child is born.
Oh.
So at that point, they've been sending you information for 17 years and they know that you're interested.
They're more invested in you than you're invested in them at that point.
And then one of the big takeaways I got from it is you donate $1.5 million to the school. Mm-hmm. And it's called the Kushner method.
Oh, okay.
And that way it kind of accelerates the application process and puts you in a different class of people who are applying to the school. It's called the class of people who will get in.
Oh, that's an important class to be in.
Right. Because there's the get in class and then there's the doesn't get in class. And the get in class is comprised of legacy, high end students, quota students, and then people who give $1.5 million.
I mean, that's a select group of America's finest.
It really is.
I'll say humans.
Yep. Very human-like. Very human-like. Look at Mark Zuckerberg.
No, I do all the time.
Yeah.
What now? Do they teach you how to pretend to be an athlete, like to pretend to be on the rowing team, that sort of thing? Yep.
There's pretend. They have pretend crew. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And it's cool. It's very well done. Like the boat is kind of mounted on a platform. There's a green screen behind, so it looks like the Charles River. And it's very well done. It's a simulated crew. Basketball is harder to simulate.
Oh, okay. But then how do they do it?
Well, they lower the basket. So the baskets are 3 feet off the ground. And just with camera angles, it just looks like he's constantly doing an alley-oop. Mm-hmm. Is that a term?
Yeah, no, you nailed it.
Is it true? Good. That's a term?
Yeah.
I knew that, Jack. I knew it.
You've learned so much, and then that's the circle of life, man, that you then teach everybody else.
Yes.
Well, I really appreciate that. Here's a true story. My son, so I see that my son has what they call Flex Wednesdays, which is basically a chance for the school not to do any teaching. And instead they have like these, so there's no in-school learning on Wednesdays so they can disinfect the school or some nonsense. It's just ridiculous.
They reduced the teacher pay as a result?
Oh, I'm sure no pay is reduced at all from the teachers. But they do have this thing called, and I saw this just yesterday, called Social Justice Book Club.
Oh.
For fourth graders.
Well, you got to get them young, don't you?
You do.
Yeah.
I'm not exposing him to social justice book club.
Not at that grade. Yeah, that's ridiculous. Because it is, at the end of the day, an ideology. And like any ideology, it's not something you want pushed on your kid.
Yep, that's exactly right. So, when I hear Jack being racist, which he is all the time.
Right. No, I know he's filthy racist. It's amazing. I've never seen a kid that age be so incredibly racist.
I haven't either. I mean, except from his parents, I don't know where he gets it from. You know what I mean? It's like just and God, he knows every word. He doesn't know the swear words. He still thinks the S word that isn't, shit. He thinks it's stupid. Well, that's how sort of young and innocent it is, but he knows every racial slur there is known to man.
Well, what bothers me more is that he has yet to acknowledge his complicity in white supremacy, his ownership of slaves, and his privilege. And that's what I find unforgivable.
Well, thank you.
Yes. And I would like to talk to him at your earliest convenience.
Well, maybe we'll have him on the show next week and you can teach him.
Oh, there you go.
You can teach him how bad he is.
All right.
Maybe that's something we can do.
It'd be a pleasure.
But I'll tell you what, at the dinner table, like every time I hear him, being super duper racist, disparaging the Chinese, that's his big thing these days. I'm telling you, we reduce his portion of dessert. Like we go all the way. So
from like a full sticky toffee to 1/4?
I mean, 3/4.
3/4.
I mean, I'm not an abusive parent.
No. You're doing a good job.
But I want to teach the boy a lesson.
Right. Absolutely. As you should.
Yeah. That it's the Vietnamese who are filthy. The Chinese they are what they are.
My son, the 13-year-old, he was assigned a book to read by Ibram X. Kendi.
Okay.
The guy who wrote the book, How to Be an Anti-Racist, who is racist himself.
Sure. Of
and
course.
says on a regular basis, racist and really dumb things. So he's been given a book to read, but we kind of discussed it and my son's onto it.
Okay.
Because he keeps coming in and he's like, so he says this. I'm like, well, let's talk about that. So it kind of reminds me of when my friend sent his son to Catholic school because he didn't want to go public, but a lot of the private schools were really expensive, but he found a Catholic school that worked for him. And so the kid would go to Catholic school and then come back at the end of the day and be like, Dad, is it true birth control causes cancer? And be like, well, let's sit down and have a chat.
Oh, wow.
So
now you're an adjunct professor at teaching sex ed at a Catholic school. Is that right?
Yes, I am.
So what is that like? What when you get into the classroom, like what are some of the things that you really want to teach the students about? About how babies are made, about sexual pleasure, any of those things.
Well, I mean, the first thing I do, first day of class, is the kids walk in. I have a can of red spray paint. And they walk in the door and I spray their crotches. I spray them with the spray paint and then they all stand there and I say, boys and girls, look at the red spots. And they all look and I say, that's the no zone. I do not want you to look there. I want you to pretend that is not there, that it doesn't exist. And that's the last time we will discuss the no zone. And then they sit down and class begins. I mean, for the first 20 minutes of class, we're all a little kind of dizzy and giggly because of the spray paint fumes, but eventually they subside.
Okay. Well, then what do you teach, though?
Well, I teach them a traditional curriculum that, if they do anything of a sexual nature, they will burn in hellfire.
Sure.
And then if they are touched in any way, shape, or form by a member of the clergy, to come to me first before going to the authorities and let me handle it.
Oh, you'll handle it. So that way you can sort of bring the person to justice. You can call the police or heck, even the FBI on their behalf.
Those guys are super busy, Jack. We have domestic terror, we have international terror, we have money laundering, we have Russians clearly responsible for everything. All the negative things that happen to us as Americans are from Russia, clearly. I don't want to trouble the local police or the state police or the FBI or anything with that or the media. It's something that's best written on a piece of paper and put in the shame file, Jack. A lot of the students were coming to me about Father McCleary. And they had their complaints and their concerns. Yeah, most of the males. And they came to me and they had their complaints and their concerns. And I jotted them all down and I put them in the shame file.
That's smart.
Yeah.
So, what is Father McCleary doing right now?
He's teaching gym.
Wow. Have you ever like audited one of his classes just to sort of like, I mean, have you followed up and just seen his method of teaching?
I was going to, but it was shower day and I didn't want to get wet. So I steered clear of that one.
Shower day.
Yeah.
Normally you just take a quick shower to rinse off some of the sweat after a workout.
Well, I mean, he wants to make sure that students are super hygienic. He wants them as clean and smooth as a whistle.
Wait, he hopes to achieve smoothness in his showers?
Smoothness and cleanliness is next to godliness. That is his phrase. That's what is up on the wall in a poster and back in the punishing room.
Oh, the punishing room.
Well, that's where the naughty boys go.
Okay. So, but you say that, so it's sort of like that cat on the hang in there poster. That thing's on a poster?
Yes.
What's the image on that poster?
It's actually Father McCleary in a Speedo, but he has the clerical collar.
But that's really nice. And the punishment room as a parent, it would raise a red flag to me. One
thing you do need in school is discipline. And
I agree.
When you need to discipline a student, you don't want to do it in front of all the other students because that's humiliating and incriminating. And you want to do it in the back room, a room that might have a lounge chair or a massage table or, any kind of place for a student to really kind of understand what he did wrong. Was he talking in class? Because that is irresponsible. Did he not do his homework? Did he give the teacher a sexy glance? There's all these reasons why a student would need to be in the punishing room, and you just don't want to do that in front of his classmates. Because, in these schools, word gets around. Kids talk. You have Snapchat and Instagram, and it's really hard these days to kind of do your job.
Yeah, of course. Well, geez, I'm glad you're there. I think this really sort of addresses a larger need that kids' voices on these matters aren't being heard. I'm so glad that they can come to you.
Thank you. And I'm glad they can come to me, Jack.
Real quick, just back to sex ed there at the Catholic school that you adjunct at. Yeah. But at some point, don't you need to sort of get into the nuts and bolts of it, if you will?
You could if you wanted to make children obsess about their no zones, or you could let it arise on the night of their marriage, when they consummate their marriage. And that is when they pop in the DVD that I produced called So You're About to Do It. And it's a 20-minute lecture on what they can expect. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of a step-by-step process. Mm-hmm. And by the end of the 20 minutes, they know what to do. But the funny thing is, most people don't even get 3 minutes into the DVD.
Oh, okay. I guess that makes sense. What do you tell them on the DVD that you can expect?
Well, I start off and I say, remember those no zones I taught you about? Well, now, and I spray paint green. They're go zones. Uh-huh. And then I guide them. I use puppets. Because I couldn't find any actors willing to do it. And the puppets kind of put on a display of what they can do, what they should expect. And of course, I give them the advice to not use condoms or birth control, because if they do, then an evil gremlin will come out of the closet and attack them with scissors.
Oh, so sex education.
Yes.
How many 15-year-olds have gotten married in your class so far this year?
It's a little confusing now because we've been officiating multiple weddings on one Zoom. It used to be easy to keep track because I would go from place to place, but now that everything's online. But we had a Zoom the other day that had 8 marriages.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Well, thanks, Brian. Good on you.
Thank you, Jack. And if any of your kids would like to go to the school at which I work, I'd be happy to put in a good word.
No, thanks. Hey, Brian.
Sir, yes, sir.
I know you wrote the book on the Supreme Court that sort of everyone goes to as sort of their go-to source, pundits on TV, law schools, everything. That you sort of wrote the comprehensive history of the Supreme Court.
Yes.
And remind me what that's called again?
Well, originally it was going to be called the League of Justices. But then I got the nastiest cease and desist from either DC Comics or Marvel. I can't remember.
Good.
Which one was it?
Real good. You got the cease and desist from DC Comics.
That's right. Exactly.
Okay, so you had to scrap it, and you went with, of course,
Fatal Justice.
Man, I love your choice to make it sound like a thriller when in fact it's just sort of a mostly illustrated tome of the history of the Supreme Court, a very dry subject.
Yeah, and then the publisher was like, no, Brian, you can't call it that because it's not. It's very misleading is what the word that they kept using in the memos.
But you're the expert. You can call your book what you want.
Yeah, when I settled on injustice.
Oh.
Meaning like info.
We got it. We all went to school.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's really cool, man.
Why, thank you.
Well, that's so great. Well, so obviously, the Amy Coney Barrett hearings and her, forthcoming appointment, I believe, not just appointment, but being approved to be a member of the Supreme Court has everyone thinking about the Supreme Court these days. And I was wondering if you could sort of give us some of your insights that you've learned over the years about the court, some of its most famous cases, and maybe even some of its most famous justices, some of the insider details that people just don't know about.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm big into the Supreme Court. You've known that.
I sure have.
I talk about it a lot. I have my annual Supreme Court party, which is a justice themed party where everybody comes over and dresses as a Supreme Court justice, which is you just wear a black robe. So it's actually easy.
Oh, which I appreciate.
Yeah.
I mean, I've not been invited, but if I were to be invited, I would appreciate a costume party that's easy.
Yeah, no, they're great parties. Really fun. All my favorite folks are there. It's just really enjoyable.
Yeah, no, for sure. They get a little crazy though, don't they?
My parties, my justice parties.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, we have the bonfire.
Okay.
And then, you jump over the bonfire. But of course, you're in a Supreme Court robe. So it tends to be eventful is the word I would use. And the police.
Sure.
And the fire department. And the insurance company.
How many Supreme Court justices have you lost?
Well, at my part, they're not real Supreme Court justices.
Right. I get that.
But Aaron and Wendy did retire from the bench that's what we say when they leave the party early because of third degree burns. They retired from the bench.
Let's get into the weeds here of this. Now, you said that the Supreme Court building itself is just a treasure trove of information, secret rooms, different areas where people can go eat. Tell us about some of the secrets of the building itself, of the Supreme Court.
The Supreme Court is a big building, and there are only 9 justices.
Yes.
So until Joe Biden backs the court. So there are only 9 justices, which means there's a ton of room inside the Supreme Court. Of course, they have the main chamber where the justices sit and these, people make their cases. And then each justice has their own office. And of course, there's the Supreme Court gym. But then there are other things. Now, you've heard the term peanut gallery.
Of course.
Well, the Supreme Court has a peanut gallery. And this is where the term comes from. It's actually just a large room filled with peanuts from all over the world.
Really?
Yeah. And I don't know if you knew this, but peanuts are like apples. There are different types of peanuts. We all think peanuts are this homogenous thing. They're not. And so peanuts from all over the world are imported and brought into the peanut gallery in the Supreme Court building. And it's strictly for the justices to use. And that's why Merrick Garland is so furious, because he's actually a peanut enthusiast. And he didn't even care about being a Supreme Court justice. He just wanted access to the peanut gallery.
And that's why he went to law school.
Exactly.
In the beginning, as a 20-year-old, he knew that he was one day going to get access to the peanut gallery.
Yeah. I mean, his legal thesis was, I love peanuts.
Oh, gosh, that's so heartbreaking.
It is heartbreaking. 412 pages.
Oh, my God.
Of how much he loved peanuts. And he was denied by Mitch McConnell.
I hate to hear that. Where do the justices eat? Is there a cafeteria? What's that like?
Yeah, it's called the Justice Yum Yum Room. And they have flavors from all over wiped on toast.
Okay.
So it's always a piece of toast, but with a flavor from somewhere in the world. and there's a map on the wall, and every justice is given a dart. And when they bite into the toast and they taste that flavor, they have to kind of figure out where they think that flavor comes from, and they throw a dart at the map on the wall. If the dart lands on the correct country that the flavor came from, then they get one override point, which allows them to override another justice's vote in any upcoming case.
What?
Yep.
Good grief.
Yeah, that's how Roe v. Wade was won.
That's how the most contentious decision in the history of the Supreme Court was decided?
Yeah, because the justice had an override point because he correctly nailed wasabi, which being from Japan, and he managed to hit right above Osaka, and so he got the override point, and bam, there you go.
And how America changed.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And that's truly remarkable. This is an incredible insight. And how do the justices decide or judge what is to be for lunch?
They deliberate over what will be for lunch. A lot of their time is spent deciding the next week's lunch menu. And of course, it depends. It swings depending on the nature of the court. Conservative justices tend to vote more for barbecue, whereas left-leaning judges tend to vote more for ethnic foods.
Sure.
Clarence Thomas is actually one of the best justices as far as putting together his opinions on various foods.
Oh,
yeah,
so that's where he speaks up.
Yeah, he doesn't talk in the court itself, but he is just an absolutely vocal justice when it comes to the menu for the following week.
Didn't he write one of the most impressive decisions in the history of the court on pork chops? Yes,
it was actually pork chops versus taco night. I mean, he really made out his case, and I mean, it was a unanimous decision.
I mean, that's amazing because everybody loves taco night. So that he was able to write such a convincing piece, that's remarkable.
Yes. And it helped that he made his case, but he also gave everybody pork chops, and everybody fell for it. Even Sandra Day O'Connor and Ginsburg, who didn't eat pork. She really? looked up. Yeah. She looked up and she said, "This is outstanding. This is delicious."
That's remarkable.
Yeah.
And there's some interesting history about Sandra Day O'Connor being the first female appointed to the Supreme Court. What are some of the things that she had to overcome within the court once she was, put on the robes for the first time? What did she face within the court as a woman? What are some of the challenges that she had to face?
Well, the biggest obstacle she faced is that there were no bathrooms for women in the Supreme Court when she was appointed.
Right, of course.
So they immediately started building bathrooms for her, remodeling large parts of the Supreme Court. But until that time, she was limited to the justice bucket.
Oh, uh-huh.
And it was kind of a humiliating sight. A Supreme Court justice kind of squatting on a 5-gallon bucket from Lowe's. That just in Sharpie had Justice Bucket written on the side. Fortunately, she was a Supreme Court justice, so she didn't have to carry the bucket. That's what clerks are for. The clerk would take the bucket outside, walk down the sidewalk and look for a gutter, and then he would say, "Justice is served." And then he would dump the bucket and the contents onto the street.
They just think they're so much better than the rest of us normal folk, don't they?
Yeah.
How long did it take for the women's bathroom to be built within the Supreme Court?
It was about 6 years.
Brown versus the Board of Education was certainly an instrumental case in the history of America. But there's some interesting little facts about it that you said you wanted to share with us.
About from Brown versus the Board of Education?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, of course, this is referring to the battle over teaching evolution.
Segregated schools, I believe.
The evolution of segregated schools. Is what I meant.
Yeah.
Brown versus the Board of Education. James Brown was furious that, he could not go to school with white kids. And he was like, And so, he got up there and he made his case before the justices and blew them away. It was such a great show. And that's why it was a unanimous decision. They're like, dudes, you have no idea what you're missing. This is the godfather of soul, and he can't go to algebra. F this. Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, it was the only decision that had an actual swear.
Yeah, I would imagine so.
Although back in 1822, Justice Cowlick said humpy, which was back then was huge. Jack.
What?
You know my friend Brad.
Oh, boy. Yeah, I know your friend Brad.
And you know he makes movies.
Yeah, he makes movies, and he's a real person. He's a real Hollywood big shot director, and he makes real movies and this is real. And
he likes you to audition for them.
Yeah, I know.
Because he thinks you're a phenomenal talent, and he's really hoping there's a role for you. Except the problem is, if you break character during the audition, you don't get the role. You understand that by now, don't you?
I do. And it's a shame because I'll say this. He's right. I'm a phenomenal talent.
You are.
And his ridiculous rule about me not breaking character when I read a script cold for the first time, and if I laugh, I don't get the part, or break character in any way, it's ridiculous. Once I were to get to know the material, I certainly wouldn't laugh when I was performing.
Right. Well,
so this is just not a great method to do it.
It's the way he does it, Jack, and you don't have an alternative. Okay. It's not like any other Hollywood people are banging on your door. So I'm sending you a script right now. All right.
That's really angry.
So as you know, Brad had to turn down Game of Thrones because his wife said he'd be gone too long. And he didn't realize he had no idea what Game of Thrones was about. And you know, now he's kind of like, oh man, I wish I had done Game of Thrones, but he just got offered something, and it's this script I'm sending you. It's for season, I think 16 of The Walking Dead.
Oh, cool.
Okay. Walking Dead is a zombie show.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's about zombies and survivors, right, Jack?
Yes.
Are you familiar with it?
I mean, I have not watched it, but I know the show. It's one of the most famous recurring TV shows in the world. Sure
is. He wants you to play the role. Did you get the script? Has it come in?
I just opened it, but I have not looked.
Okay. So you'd be playing the role of Benjamin. He's a new one who joins the team. As you know, the team has kind of changed over the years. So they keep adding and taking away new members, right? Okay. So there'd be a new member. His name would be Benjamin, and that would be you. Okay. All right. So this opens up its exterior, a residential cul-de-sac. All right. The group of survivors has just killed a slew of zombies. Benjamin, that'd be you, the newest member of the group, stares at all the bodies.
Okay.
Well, that's the last of them.
Holy cow. Those zombies have really brittle skulls. Did you notice that? The brittle skulls?
Yeah, I did.
Like I had a screwdriver and the zombie attacked me and its skull was so brittle that my screwdriver went right into its head like it was butter.
Yeah, I saw that. It was remarkably easy.
So soft.
Yep.
Why do they have such brittle skulls? I mean, if I tried to jam my screwdriver in your head, it'd definitely hurt. But the odds of me actually penetrating your skull are pretty minuscule. You know what I'm saying? I
do. I guess that's just how they are. They have brittle skulls.
I wonder what it is about turning into a zombie that makes your skull so brittle.
No idea, Ben.
And another thing I noticed is that the turning process is all over the place. Like some folks turn into zombies right away and others turn into zombies much later. But regardless, it always seems to be at the worst possible moment.
Yeah, I noticed that too.
Like he's just lying there, but only turns into a zombie right as I'm stepping over him, you know? But he's been dead for 10 minutes. Then the flip side of that is you have Becca over there and she was bitten and she turned into a zombie immediately, right as Charlie tried to kiss her.
Yeah. Okay. I know what you're saying, Ben. I hear you, but we should really just probably focus on the task at hand.
Yeah. It's just weird is all.
Yep. It's weird. Okay. I'll give you that.
Well, I guess we should find a safe place to live and then some crazy guy can come ruin it right before the season finale.
All right. Sounds like a plan.
Okay. Let's go find an Asian. We need another Asian. Man, how'd I do?
Yeah, you tripped up a little bit.
I did. It's just my character just seems to really break things down in a place. I don't know. It's almost the show has turned a little meta, maybe.
It might be. I did get the vibe that like he was kind of giving away certain things about the show.
Yeah, I felt that too.
Kind of like if there was like a James Bond where they're like, oh, that tool they're giving you is going to be used later on in the movie.
Yeah, exactly.
For sure.
Exactly.
Yeah. That car is definitely going to come in handy.
I don't want to do TV. I want film. Send me something else.
Then you're in luck because this one is a new film.
Good. TV's garbage.
It's produced by MSNBC.
Okay.
They're going into movies.
Really?
Yeah. And it's the story. It's about Christopher Columbus.
Okay.
And the movie is called The Evil Explorer.
Okay.
Okay. And he's thinking you would be playing the role of Chris Columbus because you because you just have that Columbus-y look.
Thanks.
All right. And you have the script?
I do. I just opened it.
Okay.
I've not seen anything.
You haven't seen. Okay. So this is on the beach. It's daytime. Christopher Columbus stands on the beach flanked by dozens of armed men. He surveys the land in front of him.
Well, here we are. I claim these lands in the name of the king and queen.
Hey, boss, who are those people over there?
Oh, well, I'll be damned. Look at that. A bunch of people minding their own business. They must be Indians.
They look so happy and peaceful. They're really having a great time.
Yes, upsetting to say the least.
And look at that one. She looks like a tiny, tiny fraction of what Elizabeth Warren will look like in 500 years.
Well, you know what, Ignacio? It's time to shut this party down. Know what I'm saying, homie?
But boss, they seem so happy, and they were here first.
I don't want to hear your nonsense, Bizach. It's time to colonize these yokels.
But boss, I feel kind of bad. If you disregard the intertribal fighting and brutality, it's just like Utopia here. You don't want to be the guy who ruins Utopia, do you?
You say Utopia. I say Screwtopia. These losers are running around in deerskin underoos. Time for us to raid on their parade and show them who's boss.
But if you look at things from a 21st century perspective, we should get on our boats and go home. It's the right thing to do.
You know, Ignacio, you're really starting to get on my nerves. You're either with us or you're against us.
Okay, boss. What do you want me to do?
Break out the colonization batons and germ grenades. So, in this version of Columbus, he's talking about what is it? Deerskin underoos?
Yeah.
That seems like more of a modern reference that only people born in the 1960s and 70s would even understand.
Oh, that's interesting. You say that, huh? Yeah, you're right.
Huh.
You're right. It is kind of maybe the writing there is a little sloppy. Because Christopher Columbus wouldn't in the 1500s or 1400s wouldn't know about underoos, right?
Yeah, and probably also wouldn't call people homie.
Well, you don't know how they talked back then.
Man, well, it definitely feels like an MSNBC production. It feels on brand. I think is what we want to say.
Yep. All right. Well, you didn't get that one, but there's a third chance, Jack. And good luck.
Oh, good. Oh,
good luck comes in threes.
Okay.
I just sent it to you.
Okay, great.
And I have a good feeling about this one.
Oh, good.
Now, this is a film based on current events.
Okay.
All right. Now, this one is based on current events. It's based about the New Yorker, which is a magazine out in New York that uses umlauts. And it's called #MeToobin. You'd be playing David Remnick. You'd be playing everybody's name, David. David Remnick, the editor of the New Yorker. That'd be you. Okay, Zoom conference screen. 12 people's faces appear on the Zoom screen as the editor of the New Yorker speaks.
Okay, so the purpose of this Zoom conference is to strategize our election coverage.
Did you say erection coverage?
No, Jeffrey, election coverage.
Oh, okay. I guess I misheard. LOL.
Yes. Anyway, there's a high probability that election night will be chaotic. So I want to wargame what we...
Yeah.
Jeffrey?
Continue. I'm listening.
Right. Anyway, what we need to do is determine how we would handle a variety of likely scenarios. For example, one case is obviously a landslide, but there's also the possibility... There's also the possibility that there could be a repeat of the 2016 shocker. So what we need to do is work out how the coverage will work.
Did you say repeat?
I said repeat of the...
Continue.
As I was saying, the idea is to leave here with an outline of how we will cover these scenarios. Jeffrey?
I gotta go.
Why is he making that movie?
Yeah, paycheck's a paycheck.
I'll ask just because it feels right to the bit. Did I get the role?
You did not.
Okay, great.
There's always next time, Jack.
I guess so. Well, thank. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Thank Brad for me for the opportunity to
sure I will.
at least throw my hat in the ring.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Brian, what are you doing?
That was questionable material. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast. Make sure to review the podcast. Make sure to visit qmpodcast.com for episodes, show notes, and bonus material.